Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today we've got another fun game of football to talk about. Manchester United losing 2-0 to West Ham, away from home, another bad performance, another tactically confused performance. As you can see in the title, we're going to look at who was to blame for this game. Was it the manager or was it the players? We will come on to that. Before that, I am going to just touch on two tactical positives I saw from the side. You know, 'tis the season to be jolly and all that. We're going to start with the positives. And the one positive for me out of possession was this. That United were content to sit off and play in a 4-4-2. Now, I've been asking for this shape for quite a long time, but what I liked was the intent of it. One of my biggest complaints so far this season has been that the forwards press high, the defence drops off, it leaves us open in the middle. At least in this game and also at Anfield last week, we've seen the team all playing in the same direction, all dropping off, makes the team more compact, more difficult to break down, it therefore improving us defensively. So that's one of the positives I saw in this game. The other positive I saw in this game was when we were trying to play the ball out from the back. Now granted, West Ham made it quite easy because they pressed with rather few players. However, I still thought United were good with the way that they played out from the back. We would often see Kambuala drop to one side, Evans in the middle like this, Shaw to the left, kind of forming this box shape with Onana in goal. And it allowed United to outnumber these two West Ham forwards. If West Ham tried to force the ball one way like this, United were able to go back. Onana was really confident, really patient on the ball. It allowed us to play the ball out from the back quite nicely. Even in these situations, you would sometimes see Kudus try and join the press and put more pressure on United. Onana was then really good with his clipped passes, either to Garnacho, to Shaw, or to Wan-Bissaka. I thought we were quite good in the first phase. So that's the positives out of the way. Now the time for the negatives. And there's a lot of them. And unfortunately, it is a structural problem. It is a managerial problem. So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, jerseyfifa.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFIFA for 10% off when you order. Now yes, we can talk about Garnacho, for example, missing a couple of big chances in the first half. Absolutely. Yeah, that's an individual thing. He should have done better with those opportunities. We can talk about Kobbie Mainoo making the mistake for the second goal. Again, that particular instance isn't on the manager, right? He can't control individual errors. However, what he can do, and what is ultimately the manager's job, is to take a group of players and get the best out of them. Ultimately, that is the job of a football manager. And I don't think he's doing that at the moment. And here is why. He is building still with a singular pivot in midfield. Now, a singular pivot is okay. You can have one holding midfielder, as long as someone else comes alongside them. Kobbie Mainoo doesn't have that. So Kobbie Mainoo is this young guy, a teenager, just breaking into the first team football. And he's being tasked with probably the hardest job in world football at the moment, being Manchester United's holding midfielder. We've seen Casemiro fail miserably at trying to do this. We've seen Amrabat really struggle in this role. And Kobbie Mainoo now also. These are not all bad footballers, which points to a structural, tactical problem. And the problem is, United are often building in a sort of a 4-1-5 shape. We've got the back four like this, Kobbie Mainoo is then left isolated in midfield, and then we've got 5 forward players. It doesn't make sense, because the problem we have here is that Kobbie Mainoo just has so much ground that he has to cover. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I don't just mean from a defensive point of view, I mean in possession as well. For example, let's say we play out down the right-hand side and we're building possession. We go into Kobbie Mainoo here. Let's say Kobbie Mainoo gets on the ball, twists, turns. We've drawn West Ham in. He sees Luke Shaw free on the other side. Nice, let's spread the play, pass the ball to Luke Shaw. That's the right thing to do. The problem now, though, because we've only got one pivot in all of this area here, is that Shaw is isolated unless Kobbie Mainoo is able to sprint and cover quickly 15 yards to now become the passing option again. We are so open in the midfield, both in and out of possession, and it leaves a massive disconnect between the phases of the team almost. It almost feels like we're playing in 3 different units. It's like we've got our defence, our midfield, which is really confused, and then our forward line. It's not a cohesive team unit, and it's creating a real problem. Because even when, let's say, Kobbie Mainoo does get the ball, he just doesn't really have the passing options. Now, West Ham deserve a little bit of credit for this because they defended quite well. They were narrow, they were compact, but we knew they would be. We knew they would be. And this was my concern coming into the game. I said it in my tactical preview, I said it on stream. I was worried that United wouldn't be able to get the ball through the centre. Erik ten Hag had to make the changes to fix this. If you look at any top team in Europe at the moment, they all use a double pivot. They either use literally 2 central midfielders, so for example, McTominay and Mainu would play there, or they will invert one of their centre-backs into midfield, like John Stones with Manchester City, or let's say, like Arsenal, they will move Zinchenko into midfield to still have a double pivot. Or with Spurs, they'll use both of their fullbacks quite narrow. So again, they've got numbers in these areas. So this poor guy here, the midfielder, the solo pivot, doesn't have so much lateral ground to cover. But United don't make that change. And it is summed up quite nicely, actually, in the Kobbie Mainoo mistake goal. If we just quickly look at this, excuse the quality, you can just see the spacing here, the lack of options for Kobbie Mainoo. The spacing of the team is awful here. We can see that if United do lose this ball, the ball is going straight at the United goal. Now again, of course, Erik ten Hag can't help with the individual mistake. That's just a Kobbie Mainoo error. Felt sorry for him. Hopefully he matures, learns from it. Hopefully long term in his career, it would be a good thing to face in his career. But what we can see is the spacing of the team is a problem. There is no second phase midfielder anywhere near the team. So let's say in some instances when Kobbie Mainoo actually drops into a back three even between the centre-backs, and we've seen Sofiane Amrabat do that this season as well. When this happens, we then have even less in midfield because we don't see Bruno Fernandes in these areas and we don't see Scott McTominay in these areas. It leaves United with a complete inability to play the ball through the middle, which means if you lose the ball in your build-up structure, the opposition are straight at you. And then when United do attack a bit better, which comes in the wide areas, the fullbacks fly forward. They both join the attack, Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw, getting into the final third, lots of men ahead of the ball. Now we're trying to actually break West Ham down. Perhaps we've worked the ball a little bit higher up the pitch. Because we still play with a singular pivot, and a lot of the time 2 high fullbacks, we now have a terrible rest defence structure. Because the second United lose the ball, it is an entire attacking unit of the opposition against Kobbie Mainoo, who is a young player and not a true ball winner, Kambuala making his senior debut, and Johnny Evans, who is, towards the end of his career. You've got to protect these players better, and the way to protect these players better is to get an extra player in midfield, whether that be a fullback inverting, a centre-back stepping up, or just a midfielder naturally a little bit deeper. The team has to be more connected. It's quite amateurish tactically. To leave your team this open, both in and out of possession, it is amateur hour at Manchester United from a tactical point of view. I don't know why it's happening. People keep asking me this. I don't know why. I don't know what Ten Hag's thought process is. But it's wrong. And it's leading to a lot of problems for United. Now, the one thing United did have in this game was the ability to combine and attack and create out wide. Particularly with Garnacho and Luke Shaw. I thought we saw some really good moments from them. And again, this was something that I predicted before the game. That West Ham would be really compact. Therefore, the way to hurt them is to play well in wider areas. And I think Shaw and Garnacho did have some good combination play. The problem was the final delivery was quite poor. Again, Ten Hag can't necessarily help the final delivery being poor. But, at least we did see some good combination in wide areas. But that's why, actually, the subs confuse me more than anything in this game, actually. So let me quickly just get Rashford onto the pitch. I didn't prepare that before the game. So Rashford comes onto the pitch for Rasmus Højlund, which doesn't make sense. So in the first half, or first hour even, United's good play is coming out wide. But we're lacking the final delivery and that little bit of quality you need. And our best winger, Marcus Rashford, is sitting on the bench. We bring him on. That's a good thing. You're bringing your best winger on to attack the one West Ham weakness, which is out wide they're playing poorly. Attack the wide space. Rashford's coming on. Great. Nope. He comes on up front and gets one touch in the next 13 minutes. And he's playing exactly where West Ham want him to play, where they have congested the pitch and he can get absolutely no time on the ball. We ended the game with Bruno Fernandes, a central creator on the left wing, Marcus Rashford, a wide player, playing through the middle, and then Anthony on the right wing. That was our attacking trio. It doesn't make sense. It is poor from Erik ten Hag. Now, I think the important thing we've got to talk about, with any manager or any footballer that you rate, it's important that you can say when they're doing well and when they're doing badly. If you can't do that, people will never really value your opinion, which is why I am criticising Erik ten Hag. You guys who have been about here for quite a while will know that I was someone who wanted him. I wanted Erik ten Hag. I said he was the right manager to go and get. I was excited when we went and got him. But if I can sing his praises when we get him, I've also got to be honest with you guys when he's not doing well enough. And it hurts a little bit because I'm such a fan of the guy. But at the moment, he simply isn't doing well enough with this squad. Now we can point to injuries. Of course, the injuries is just absolutely ridiculous. We've got 4 first team centre backs out. Literally the pecking order, the top 4 are all out injured. We've also got Ten Hag's 2 big money central midfielder signings, both out injured, Mason Mount and Casemiro. So of course there are injury problems in this side, and it always makes the job of a manager much, much harder when you can't get a consistent team. However, Erik Ten Hag still had the personnel available to him in this game where he could have played a balanced 11. He could have brought Sofian Amrabat into the side. Granted, he was poor last week, but we could have had Amrabat in midfield alongside Kobbie Mainoo. If that is the case, this second goal doesn't happen because there would be an extra profile in midfield. There would have been an extra player there. Or even if it does still happen, it massively reduces the risk. It also means that when we push all these players forward and we're super attacking, it means that when we lose the ball in the final third, rather than having 2 centre-backs plus 1 midfielder to defend a transition, we've got 2 centre-backs and 2 central midfielders. It's just that extra man. The solution is there for Erik Ten Hag. It's probably not going to be optimal anytime soon because of all the injuries, but there are options, there are short-term fixes which Erik Ten Hag could go for to get this side to play better football. We could still see the attacking fullbacks if that's really what he wants to do. If he wants to do that, we could still see that with a balanced structure, both in and out of possession. Ten Hag can do that with the 11 he's got, and that's why, unfortunately, I think he is to blame for this defeat. Again, I like to be level-headed and bring both sides of it. Of course, there were individual errors in this game. Garnacho should score. It's just poor end product. Kobbie Mainoo for the second goal makes a big mistake. Erik Ten Hag isn't responsible for that. So of course, again, I don't want to be biased here. I'm not just going in on Erik Ten Hag. Again, if I see a player or a manager, whether I like them or not, doing things wrong, it's only right to point it out. And the same when they do things right. It's exactly what this channel is all about. At the moment, I don't think these players in this particular game, apart from a couple of individual errors, done that much wrong. I'm not putting this down to player performance. The team, at the moment, is set up for failure. And that is, of course, a big criticism of a manager. Again, I love Erik Ten Hag. Could he be the manager to turn his team around? Absolutely, he could still be the guy. But he has to make a change. We have to see another profile in the midfield. If Erik Ten Hag doesn't make that change, it's not looking good for him. But he might make that change. We're just going to have to wait and see. In terms of this particular match, that is all there is to say, because a lot of it is the same errors we've seen all season of a tactical issue in the midfield. The dynamic there has to change. If it doesn't change, who knows what will happen. But in terms of today, that is all there is to talk about, because largely it's the same issue for the past 20 matches or so. Because largely it is the players being put in poor positions like they have been all season, so therefore they fail. So that is my final thoughts on the game. It's not good enough from Manchester United. It was a poor football match. The players weren't great. Erik Ten Hag was poor. West Ham were pretty poor as well and somehow got a 2-0 win. So that's all I've got to say for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.